Now does it?
Yes, now it does.
Jeff, your microphone shows to be muted.
Yeah, I was muting it. I'm figuring during this meeting, I'm going to mute it. So get everybody with background noise. I'm just trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Probably for most people.
You can see it when I hit mute. You can see that on your screen?
Yes. But that's okay. I look at mine right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to test something out.
All right.
I got some headphones. I'm going to plug them in and see if I can still hear. And it's got a microphone on it, so we'll find out. So not everybody has to listen to me.
Are we going to be 15 minutes into this 40 minutes when this guy gets on? I mean, I guess the meeting started technically on our time clock.
I'm not sure. It's set for 8. I don't know that answer. I don't remember from my previous ones where that 45 minutes ended. I don't know. And I think it's okay to log off and come back on. I haven't had issues with that. I just didn't know with an entire committee if somebody's internet connection wasn't great, if we wanted to wait for every single person to get back on.
Yeah.
Matt, how's yours working?
I can hear everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you?
I'm at the Whataburger. I told Erica, I said, if I'm the MC and the host, I'm getting there early. I took my phone to the AT&T Center last week to check out the hotspot, and nothing was wrong with it.
Yeah. Hey,
but
Janice is calling me. Let me help her. Okay. Hey, and Matt, I'm going to probably be doing most of these conferences from my office, so you're welcome to come up to the office. Anybody is.
Okay.
What's that background noise? Is that Alan?
Hello, Janice.
No.
That's not?
It's not me.
Are y'all hearing that background noise?
What happens when you click that link?
Hello.
Hi, Randy.
No, I don't think it is. Let me see. Hold on.
Yes.
Okay. Good deal.
It would, because that's where I sent it the first time, but when I forgot that you changed it. Okay.
Hit your mute. You see if you got the background. Just hit mute real quick.
Me?
No, Matt.
Oh.
All right.
Y'all hear that background noise?
Which email are you on?
Not anymore. Yeah.
I can hear it.
All right, so I'm going to resend the link for right now. And there is a link. It'll say join from PC Matt. And what happens when you click that?
Hey, Alan, are you there?
Yeah.
Hit mute on yours. Let me see if that background noise quits.
It wouldn't have been too early, I don't think, because there's quite a few of us on right now.
I'm still hearing it.
I don't think his is on mute though, because it should come up a little microphone with a red slash through it. It's not you.
All right, Alan, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, hit your mute. Can you put that on mute? Alan, are you still there?
I'm talking on and off mute.
Yeah, there's a lot of background noise. I'm betting that's Alan.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good trick because I'm sitting in a quiet room by myself.
Huh.
Alan, mute yours and let's see what happens.
I don't think he's able to mute it.
Who's
there?
Is that Gary?
Sounds like Gary.
Yeah.
That's Papa.
I can't get a picture on mine. What am I supposed to do?
Are you on your phone?
Yeah.
Did you click on the first link on that email?
Well,
What's that?
I clicked on the second one. Should I go to the first one?
Yeah, click on the first one.
All right.
That background noise.
I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, I don't
That
know
background noise brings Alan's screen up. I'm betting that's Alan because the background noise, when nobody's talking, his screen comes up with the sound.
I see that.
So, Alan, you're not able to mute yours, right?
Okay, I made it.
Hi,
Hello,
Janice.
Janice. Hello,
Hey.
Kathy.
I finally got it. I'm sorry, I was such a mess.
Is the host able to mute Alan?
I can only mute myself.
Okay.
Alan, can you hear us? I don't know if Alan can hear us.
Hello? Yeah, but it looks like your microphone is off.
Yeah, I'm muting it. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Missed you yesterday.
I know. Let's say I missed y'all, but I was fishing at the coast. I didn't miss y'all.
Oh,
I can't hear any. Whoa, that's quiet
there
now.
we go.
I hear you.
I think Alan got his muted.
Alan found the mute button. Keep it on mute, big boy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Janice. We
I
can
hear you. I don't see you.
All right. I'll be quiet.
Okay, I'm here, but I don't know. I'm not getting a picture.
Well, I'm not sure why that is. You may just need to do audio conference.
Yeah, that's fine too.
That way we don't have to look at you.
That's what I'm thinking.
Chime in with that.
Well, there's Larry.
Do you merge calls?
Hey, good.
Merge calls?
Hello,
or
Nate.
Swap or
How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about y'all?
Doing good. Glad you're here.
I can hear
thank
everybody
you.
now.
Glad to be here.
Is Neil on?
hey?
Yeah, he's on.
Okay.
Oh, you can hear me?
Hey, Doug.
I
Yes.
can't see. There you are.
Oh, okay. Can you hear us,
Hey,
Doug?
is anybody using an iPhone?
Mm-mm.
Hey, Jody.
Hey, Jody.
That's not Jody.
That didn't look like Jody.
Uh-uh. That wasn't Jody.
Okay.
Yeah, Jody's on.
All right, can y'all hear me?
Hi,
Yes,
Jessica.
sir. Hey, Jody.
Yes.
Hi.
Hey, guys. Hey, hey, hey. How are y'all?
It's Monday.
It's Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's fine.
Well, that's good. All right. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm hearing you.
Great.
Yep.
All right, there we go. All right, I think we're on.
There you are.
Oh, there he
Jimmy,
is.
Jimmy, does it appear that everybody's here?
I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I believe that's all of us.
And one audio.
Yeah.
So Gary's just listening audio-wise.
I see 3 maybe that's on audio.
This is Darren. I'm on audio, but I think I'm on an iPhone, so it's putting the video on the back.
Yeah, it does work on iPhone. I've used that before. I'm not sure what's wrong with y'all's, but y'all can just do audio conference on this one.
Okay.
Do y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, Jessica.
Hi.
Hey, Matt, I just got your email just a few minutes ago.
The one with the brochure of all the team members?
Yeah, the PDF, I couldn't get it to pull up.
Okay, I'll send it to you after the meeting. I tried to send it from my phone.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it was. But yeah, I checked it on my phone and the computer, and it wasn't pulling up on either one.
I'll send it again after the meeting. It's just so you can put a name with all these 14 faces.
Okay. Yeah.
So you don't feel completely overwhelmed, but feel free to relax. So I'll go ahead and I'll start with a prayer.
All right.
And then I'll ask a question and then have another team member to go from there. Okay. But let's all go to the Father and just ask His guidance and His counsel. Holy Father, we thank you for the day. We thank you for this time that we get to spend together, just visiting with Jody and with Jessica. God, I pray that your Spirit would move within us, that you would guide us through the things that we are going to talk about. God, I pray that you would give us wisdom at Pine Tree as we are continuing to seek out your will and the man and his family that you have in mind to come and partner with us. God, I want to thank you for Jody and Jessica for the work that they're already doing at their current congregation. I pray that you would bless them through that. And God, I just pray for all the other candidates as well, that you would be with them during this. We just ask that you would bless our time tonight. And we thank you for Jesus, and we just ask for guidance and direction in all that we do. In Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Hey, everybody, to clear up on any background noise, I would say everybody who is not going to ask a question tonight, why don't you mute your microphone? I see some people already have, just to help with the background noise. I am muting now.
I'm going to push the record button now.
Where do you mute? Oh, there we go.
Did you find it? Okay, here we go. We're going to try to record.
It says recording at the top of mine.
Okay. It says it on mine too. We'll just see how it goes.
All right.
Okay. So, all righty, Jody. So, in your spiritual autobiography, we noticed that your overall mission is to make disciples of Christ. This lines up well with the Pine Tree mission statement that we recently rolled out within the past year of make, mature, and multiply, specifically disciples of Jesus. Okay? We've also noticed that several areas of your experience, such as dry bones in Denver, working with homeless of inner city teenagers, the Dallas Homeless Life Shelter, your work in Rwanda as a missionary for a period of time, and we know that your current church partners with Honduras is very parallel to several ministries that we have here at Pine Tree. We're heavily involved with Highway 80, which is a homeless mission, as well as Ghana in Africa and Mission Upreach in Honduras. And so those are things that really excite us, that you kind of have a similar background with some of the things that we are currently involved in here at Pine Tree. The question is that I would like to ask you is, what do you see as a goal, perhaps, for the Pine Tree congregation for the next 5 to 10 years? And how would you partner with us to help us achieve those goals in certain areas, such as reaching out towards the homeless here in Longview, or reaching out to people in Ghana or Honduras.
Okay, so how would Honduras, Ghana, or the homeless in Longview kind of line up with the vision that you have right now?
Yeah, I guess, and just how would you come in, and what experience do you have in your areas, such as working with dry bones and homeless people, and then working in Rwanda for a period of time? How can you use your talents to partner with us? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then what goals could you envision us trying to have, perhaps? Just kind of talk about that for a minute. No
Okay,
right or wrong answer.
Well, I think when you think about making disciples, our first thought probably is our own children and those who are currently at our church, and that should be one of our most important goals. But we also, whatever church that I'm at, right now it's Northridge, and we're, I guess, the heart, the passion that we have for not just the homeless, but those who maybe are broken or kind of have a background of being unchurched, or maybe living a life of sin where they may not feel comfortable coming to church, is to try to create an atmosphere or an environment where, it'd be more like a hospital for broken people to come and to find grace and healing. And so I've tried to take what I've learned from Dry Bones and even from my experience in Rwanda, and I've tried to implement some of those things, with what we're doing here at Northridge. It probably would start overall with an atmosphere deal with your entire church, I guess, feeling excited, feeling the passion to want to have an environment of welcoming in, being hospitable towards those who are maybe we consider outsiders or different. And then you want to engage people and start building relationships. And I think that the overall atmosphere would be important to start with your whole church buys into the idea that we want to be a place where people feel comfortable coming, even if they don't dress like us or look like us, that this is a place for everyone, and everyone is certainly welcome. Everyone is a child of God, and you will find a place where you can meet people that will love you, and you can kind of begin there. And so my goal, I guess, would be to make disciples, not just my own children and the children who are already at the church, but to create a place where other people can come and their children can come. I told a story at Northridge about a church they're having a VBS, and they were trying to bring in some of the neighborhood kids, and some of the ladies who were running VBS were kind of upset with how chaotic it had been, and they said, are those kids going to come next year? So they had kind of created this like our kids versus their kids.
Yeah.
And so some of the language that we use, I think, is important in creating the atmosphere of welcoming all types of people, not just those we're comfortable with. And I think the way that we word, beginning with the preacher in the pulpit and the church leaders, the elders, the deacons, the language that we use is important. And if other people can see that, church leaders are passionate about creating an environment that is welcoming and loving, then I think the rest of the membership will. So I think that maybe a goal for 5 to 10 years would be to try to make as many disciples as possible. And when I say disciples, I don't just mean converts.
Right.
From Matthew 28, I believe it's, you're teaching them to obey everything Jesus commanded, not just getting someone baptized. And so sometimes that teaching process begins even before they're baptized, and then you continue that on. So I think, sometimes we speak of goals in numbers, and we say, I would want 5 years from now to have 50 people outside of the normal church environment baptized. Well, sure, that would be a great number, but also you want to, it's hard to kind of gauge that, but you want to make disciples, you want to make people that are committing their lives to Christ beyond just having a number. And to me, it seems like in the evangelical churches, especially Church of Christ is my context, that's kind of where we get tripped up, as we get so focused on numbers that we kind of lose focus on what it means to help people walk alongside them as they gradually are transformed and commit their lives to Christ. So I guess that would kind of, I could probably talk about this for an hour, but you want to create an atmosphere where your entire church is on board with the idea that everyone is welcome, and you create an atmosphere where people feel welcomed and loved, and people, sometimes the best way to do that is to invite someone into your home, sit down at a dinner table, and a lot of the important conversations that Jesus had was at someone's house, sitting around a dinner table, and Jesus was constantly, he received a lot of, aggression from the Pharisees for the type of people that he would associate with. So I think we want to be like Jesus in that we are welcoming to all types of people. And then when it comes to making disciples, that we continue to walk alongside people instead of just, getting them wet, getting them baptized, and then they're just a number. We want to view them more as a human that we're trying to disciple, and we learn and grow alongside them. So I'm trying to keep it, not be too lengthy on that.
And I think that's a great answer. Don't focus on the numbers. Focus on the people.
Yeah, focus on the relationship, and I had a guy in Rwanda that told us, Americans have a tendency to have this paternalistic view, or like a messiah complex, where we feel like we're wealthy, we're educated, so they need us. And one of the Rwandan leaders told me, he said, when you go back home, don't go tell your churches you're going to transform Rwandans. Tell them you're going to be transformed with Rwandans, because we're doing this together. And I've tried to take that, walking along with someone, being an advocate for someone, like you're in it together. So focus on the relationship, and then you're mutually transformed in the process.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to question number 2. I'll pass that off to Randy Bassett. She's one of the young ladies on our committee. So, Randy, if you would ask your question, that would be great.
All right. Hi, it's nice to meet you guys. I'm Randy, and I am part of our Young Professionals Ministry. So that's kind of a group of college age to 20s that meets. And then we also have a big population of young marrieds in our church. So I just was curious if you have worked with that kind of 20s and 30s age group, where you're at and kind of your experience with that. Or even if you haven't, if you're interested in working with that population and what your vision might be for that age group.
All right, you want me to start? And you go? Okay. Yeah, at our church right now, that's probably the age group that's the big buzz. Everybody's worried about that age group, the 20s, 30s, and we even include people in their 40s. Basically anybody that's raising children. Mm-hmm. And I guess currently what we're doing is we're trying to build that group up. I personally believe that one of the best ways to do that is to be in each other's homes through small groups or life groups, whatever you would call it. That's kind of been one of our struggles here, to get the leadership on board with seeing that, and seeing there's kind of a large outcry for something beyond just what we're doing. And so as we kind of gear up to hopefully implement some sort of small group, life group ministry in the future, we've done things like we had an intentional family seminar the last few years. It was just a weekend long. It was sort of a retreat, but it was in town. So I guess you can't call that a retreat. And we brought in Monty Cox from Harding one year, and then we brought in a guy named Phil McKinney, who's adjunct professor at Harding the next year. And we just tried to, it was more of a very practical, intentional family seminar, but it wasn't just for those raising kids. It could be for anybody that's younger, and ways to be intentional about who you are. We did a lot of practical spiritual disciplines, like things that you could take home with you beyond just showing up for church. So we've done things like that. Recently, about a month ago, we had just after church on a Sunday morning, just a big lunch for anybody that's in their 20s, 30s, or 40s.
We've done, like holiday parties and things like that. But that's something that we desire at our church to really try to build up. There are several families at our church that show interest wanting to get together, but it just seems like, when we try to start something, then other factors get in the way, kind of, like sometimes kids and, like ball games and stuff like that. So, but that is something that we really, desire to get involved with and would love to be a part of.
Yeah. And I'm a big believer that if you're going to do something like this, like say you want to build up the young families, or you don't have to be, you can be single also, single people are included, that I would love for our church leadership to fully support that. And that's kind of one of the areas we've had trouble. I've talked with our shepherds quite a bit, and I think it's sort of that us versus them mentality, like, yeah, y'all go just kind of do something and make sure they show up. But I've tried to help them say, no, we want you to come and to support it and mentor us also. So that way the young families see that, it's not just other young families who are wanting to do stuff, but those who've kind of walked through life and have a lot of experience, they care about us and they want to help us and mentor us also. So those are kind of some of the areas where we've been working on for years here. And it's an ongoing process, but something we care about. It's the life stage we're in right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I think we already have a pretty good group there. But of course, the goal is to grow that and get more people involved. So I think that's a great plan. You'll have some great ideas for that. So that's good to hear.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
That's something we care about, and it's definitely a work in progress.
All right. Thanks, Randy. Okay. Let's shift to Doug. Doug Free is another young man on our committee, and so he's going to ask you this next question.
Thanks for calling me young, Matt. Appreciate that.
You are young.
So this question might be a little bit funny, but anyhow, in looking at the church website, I saw that Jim Parker was listed as a minister as well.
Yes.
And if our information is correct, he was a previous minister at Northridge. And so I'm curious about your relationship with him and maybe the other elders, but specifically with him and how his presence has affected your ministry there. And I'm curious because my dad was a preacher for 14 years at the church that they currently attend.
Candidate for preacher.
And I've seen how
really? Yes, sir.
His interaction with ministers,
you a pastor?
It can be a little touchy because there's still a following. He has a following amongst the congregation because he was preaching there for so long.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation, I guess, by looking at the website. Man, transition plans has been a big part of our life the last 5 or so years. Her dad is a preacher in Rockwall, Texas at the Eastridge Church of Christ. He was the preacher there.
And he just recently transitioned also. So.
Okay.
And he stayed on staff at that church. So they've kind of gone through a similar situation. So yeah, about 5 years ago, the elders approached me, and it was actually Jim's idea, but he was actually beyond the retirement age at that point. He's now 75, and they just said they wanted to kind of start coming up with a plan for me to transition out of youth ministry and into preaching, and they didn't really have a plan. They just knew that's something they wanted to do. So I kind of took the initiative, and I started talking to other churches. I talked to a guy in Fort Worth named Brock Falk. He's a preacher at the Church of Fort Worth, and he had done something similar. The preacher had been there for 30-plus years. He had been the youth minister for about 7 years. They did the transition. So I just reached out to him and told him my situation, and he was very helpful. He wrote me back and gave me a book to read called Transition Plan, written by a guy named Bob Russell. And they did it. Have you heard of Kyle Idleman? He wrote that book, Not a Fan. It's a large church in Kentucky, and they did this huge transition plan and planned it out for over 2 years. And so I gave the elders a copy of that book, and I involved some of our deacons also, who were, one of the guys was going probably to be a future elder, but he recently moved away. And they all sat down and read the book, and I think they got on board with the idea of more than just saying we're going to do this, but actually coming up with a plan. And so that book recommends that the outgoing preacher leave town once the transition is complete, to give the new preacher the room to grow. And that is not the route we took. And so there's definitely some difficulties and potential difficulties with this transition. And we've completed the transition. The number one thing that Jim and myself, we had to keep in mind and communicate with each other is transition plan and who is the preacher at Northridge. We can't have an ego in this. So if either one of us had an ego, then the people will pick up on that and they'll see the tension between us. So we had to communicate as much as possible in the office to make sure that's not happening. And then we had to just ask ourselves what's best for this church. And I think Jim, he definitely had trouble letting go, but he did a good job of not letting everyone see that. You know, he tried to build me up from the pulpit when he would speak. And so there was definitely some bumps in the road, I guess we could say, but they weren't real public. And I think anybody that we've asked in our church or that we've polled, they've all had positive feedback saying they thought the transition went really smooth. And I mean, I think we're at a place where it's gone pretty well. And I think you asked about my relationship with the elders. Jim is now an elder. All of our elders are in their 70s to mid 70s. I would say I have a pretty good relationship with them. I've known them for almost 9 years now. There's one elder that I'm pretty close with. I'm close with Jim. You know, he's at the office for like 2 hours every day now. You know, he's just kind of he's cut it back quite a bit, but he lets you know when he's there. He just comes and socializes and then leaves. So, we keep a good relationship. We share a lot of similar hobbies. We both like sports, kind of have a similar sense of humor. So those things have made it a little bit easier.
We live right down the street from him.
Yeah, we're actually
out in the neighborhood.
Neighbors.
Okay.
But I've definitely heard of churches who've done transitions that it didn't go so well, and one of the two of them ended up leaving angry, and so we wanted to make sure to avoid that. And so, yeah, the elders have kind of taken an approach of when they needed to lead the process, they would. I asked them to lead it a little more than they did. When they finally sat down a few years ago and said, let's kind of finalize how this will end, that was their idea. And the way they finalized it was, said, why don't you and Jim get together and write it down on paper? So we pretty much finalized the transition just together one day in the office, presented to the elders, and said, sounds great. So that's, we just had to communicate. And I think it's been difficult on him to kind of let go, but I think he's been humble and he's been helpful in a lot of ways, and it helps with him still being around pretty often. And then I try to show him, that I respect him. So I'd come to him for advice on certain situations so that he would know he's still included and he's still an important person at this church.
I think it helped kind of with my dad going through that, because my dad, he handled it very well, but it was hard on me as his daughter, being and listening to him preach for so many years, that Jim's daughter is actually the secretary at our church. And so we wanted, since she's involved in the day-to-day routine at the church too, we wanted to make sure that not just Jim, but also his daughter Angie and his wife Shirley, that they all felt, how important they were to the church, and that, respect was given where it was needed to, and so no one's feelings would get hurt, because it is hard, not just on the preacher, but also the family members, because, when you're a preacher, it's not just your job, it's, you know, your whole life is in it. So it's a big transition to go through. So we try to be mindful of everyone who was involved in this.
All right. Well, that sounds good.
Okay.
you could have said, yeah, I kind of hate it, but.
Yeah, well, it's definitely been, I guess, like my answer to the last question, a work in progress. Actually, when I finished up my master's, we had to do a capstone project, and I did my project on ministry in transition. And I got a group of ministers from the Northeast Texas area together, and we did like a sort of like a lectureship for just a day, and presented a lot of information to them about transition, guys that will be going through transitions here in the next few years. And I try to rock their world a little bit and show them like all the areas of concern that they may not even think about in advance. And then, you know, give them great resources to read, the right people to talk to. We've had a lot of people help us and mentor us through this. Without that, I don't think we could have made it. We've had a lot of very helpful people in our lives.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm watching the clock. Jimmy, can you hear me? I think he's muted, but he still should be able to hear me, I think. I think we've got
1 minute.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay, we've still got 2 questions. So is there a way that we can all log out and then click the link again?
Yeah, everybody log off and come back on the same link.
Okay.
All right.